Hey guys, I'm Marcus Buff Bagwell, and on April 22nd, 1998, man, that is a day that I will never forget. It was the day I broke my neck in Columbia, South Carolina. Man, that day started off really wonderful. I remember going, we had finally figured out where I wanted to build my house. Well, you're talking about, 6 or 7 years at WCW, working hard, going from center stage, begging people to get in to, now we're selling out arenas. I was there for that ride. I was part of that ride. And now I'm getting to build my home. And the first start of that is picking out your lot. So I show up to a place called Town Lake Hills North in Woodstock, Georgia. Really nice subdivision. And I wanted a golf course lot, and I wanted it to be on the putting green. I wanted it to be on the green. I wanted to be able to walk in my front door, walk out the deck, and look at the green at pin high. And so, but in the summertime, everything's really grown up and stuff, and it's April. So it's very green, and winter is not here yet. So I'm trying to figure out which lot it is, and it's between one of these three lots I'm looking at. I picked the lot. I write an $88,000 check for the lot. I get my $85,000 Jaguar and drive to Columbia, South Carolina. When I get to Columbia, South Carolina, I walk in the door, and Jimmy Hart meets me and goes, "Hey, man, we need to do the voiceovers on your Buff Daddy song." So we go straight to the back, and we do the voiceovers, which is me, doing little voiceovers in there, laughing, and the little stuff I do in the song. I'm sexy. I'm so sexy, or whatever little voiceovers we did to the song. Catering. All of this it's been a wonderful day, man. My house. I'm ready to build my house. I can't wait. I bought the lot. I got blueprints. I mean, there's a major plans in my future, very near future. I'm in what I think is going to be my best tag team ever, Vicious and Delicious. Me and Norton, it was going to be a good thing, man. We had the NWO backing us. We got a great name, Vicious and Delicious. We're on Thursday Night Thunder in Columbia, South Carolina against Lex Luger and Rick Steiner, and we're going over. We're beating Lex Luger and Rick Steiner. I mean, this is working, and I'm excited. And everything's going well for Marcus Bagwell. And not just well, everything's going like crazy, fantastic good. So here comes the match. Here comes the showtime, 8 o'clock, Thursday Night Thunder. I can't remember where we were at on the card. I don't think we were main event, but we could have been. I'm not sure. So this match comes, and the finish of the match was, they made the comeback. It was me and Scott Norton against Lex Luger and Rick Steiner, and it was heat on Lex, hot tag to Rick. Rick makes the comeback, and I was really good at tag team stuff, but all of us pitched into what was going to happen, of course. But the finish was Rick bulldogs me. After he bulldogs me, he covers me. Scotty slides in, hits Rick with the chair, Scotty puts Buff on top of Rick. 1, 2, 3, NWO wins. Simple, easy finish. Simple, easy finish unless you're paralyzed. So Scotty, it gets time to go. Here comes Rick off of the bulldog. When Rick comes off, if you watch it back, he misses me. So this is milliseconds, man. This is thousands of a second. You're having to make these decisions. But as soon as I feel him miss me, instantly my brain tells me, hey, man, I got to catch up to him to make this look real, because it's live Thursday Night Thunder, live cameras with a 5-second reaction time difference. That's all. So if you trip, you trip. If you break your neck, you break your neck. There's no fixing it, because you only got 5 seconds to fix it. So as soon as he starts to miss me, man, I start catching up to him. And when I do, we collide and I can't touch the ground. So my neck just goes this way, but it snaps. It like, boom. And when it does, as soon as it snaps, I remember my arms just, and you know, keep in mind, again, milliseconds, thousands of a seconds here that you're having to feel or react. But I remember really quickly going, oh my God, I'm hurt. Because I remember feeling in my heart like something was bad wrong. But your brain don't process, oh my God, you're paralyzed. It wasn't that quick. But within, again, another thousandths or two of a second, when Rick went to roll me over, I had figured out, oh my God, I think I'm paralyzed. So when Rick went to roll me over and our eyes met, I said, I'm paralyzed. And Rick's eyes got that big, but at that junction, think about it. There's not a memo telling you what to do when you break your neck and you're paralyzed on live television. So as soon as it got to my back, if you really watch the episode over, notice that my legs are crossed. In life, if a person is dead on their stomach, or a person is paralyzed on their stomach, or a person is truly passed out all the way on their stomach, 100% of the time, when you roll them over, their legs are going to cross. Well, my legs cross. Now, if you don't see it right away, they get uncrossed because Virgil tries to slide me out because he thinks I'm faking the injury. But on the initial roll over, my legs cross, and I don't know that at the time. I notice when I watch it back. But as soon as I get to my back, I know that Scott Steiner is coming with a chair. That's not good. So I instantly start kind of talking. You see my mouth going 1,000 miles an hour. I'm going, Scotty, don't, please, I'm paralyzed. No, please don't. So he hits Rick with a chair, and then instead of messing with me, you're not supposed to touch a guy with a broken neck, he's going to just put my arm on top of Rick. So he hits Rick with a chair. He grabs my arm and really quick and good puts my arm on top of Rick, and he slides out. But my arm goes because I'm paralyzed. Now, both of us are down. 1, 2, 3. Who won? Who won the match? Nobody knows. Our commentators did not know what our finishes and stuff were. They didn't know. They wanted to call it like they saw it. So they stayed away from us all day long. So when they watched the show, they called it as is. So when I'm laying there, they're thinking, oh, this is some kind of NWO skit or something. You know, they don't know that I'm really injured. Well, the more it goes on, Bobby the Brain comes down, finds out. He comes back to Tony Schiavone and he says, hey, Marcus he's really hurt. Buff's really hurt. And so at that stage, what's going on in the ring is I'm laying there looking at 2 or 3 of my best friends in the world, which is Rick, Lex, and Scott Norton. I mean, great friends of mine, people that I love and they love me. And Norton is crying. Lex is almost crying. Rick's not crying, but he's apologizing to me. And a tear never even came close to me. I remember wanting to ask God why. And the faith and my belief I have with Christ and the faith I have at that junction especially, you're not supposed to ask God why. You know, God does what he does for a reason. And if you believe in God and you have the faith for God, then you know what he's doing is for a reason. So when you're laying paralyzed and you're Buff Bagwell, I can tell you, you want to ask why really bad, but I didn't. I said, God, is this really the plan you have for me? Is this really what you had planned for me to end my career on a Thursday Night Thunder on TV at at the height of my career, at the peak of Buff Bagwell, we're going to paralyze? Is that really the plan? And as I said that out loud, and Luger and Norton are trying to talk to me. And by this time, I think Luger's gone too, and Norton's there because we had to kayfabe. I mean, it was NWO versus WCW, so we couldn't act like they were coming to see about me. In the back, Bischoff is having to keep all the guys from coming out and checking on me because Goldberg wanted to come out and check, and we couldn't. WCW was against the NWO, and wrestling was real again, and we had made it real. So the last thing we needed to do is see WCW guys caring about NWO members. So they got out of the ring, and Norton stayed with me, and it was a cluster with the machine they were trying to get me on, and I'm asking if I'm paralyzed. So as we got there, the trainer was with me, and Scott Norton was with me, and I remember going, "Hey, guys," I go, I can still do what Christopher Reeves is doing. I can go to schools and talk to schools like Christopher Reeves is doing, and still be an inspiration." So here's a guy, and you got to listen to this. Here's a man, Marcus Bagwell, that has been paralyzed for 5 minutes. And I have gone from, oh my God, terrified, to making this positive. I am going to go to schools. In 5 minutes, I am gone from being paralyzed to I'm going to go to schools like Christopher Reeves, and I'm going to talk to schools and being positive like that. I truthfully don't know where that came from. I'm a positive guy, but at that junction, I don't know where I found that. But I can tell you this: as soon as I said that, Danny Young, our trainer, goes, "Your left hand is moving." And I can't look up at my left hand, but I remember like feeling that my fingertips were moving. And then it felt like water kind of coming up, and it stopped. And then water. But if you look closely, I'm kind of underneath the ropes during the footage of this. And at this junction, I reach up and feel my core, and I can't feel it. So I'm not out of the woodwork here. I can't feel my arm is moving, but I can't feel my chest at all. And then the board gets out there, and they duct tape me down, forehead. And I'm asking, if I can move my fingertips and my toes, does that mean I'm paralyzed? And nobody will answer me. Nobody. And I finally get mad, and I go, "Hey, can y'all effing hear me, man?" And a guy goes, "Hey, man, we can't answer you because we don't know. And we don't want to tell you something we don't know." So again, now I'm moving my fingers and toes. They get me on the ambulance. Luger, Steen go with me. And I think Bischoff went too. And then we get in the ambulance. We get to the hospital. Keep in mind, I'm duct taped to a board, and I'm moving my fingers and toes, and that's it. And then when we get there, it's CAT scans and MRIs, 3 hours of that. So finally, when they got out of that, the doctor comes in and says, "Sit up." And I'm like, "Set up? What are you talking about?" So they start untaping me, and I start to move, and I can move my arms, and I set up, and I go, "Oh my God." I go, "What happened?" And he goes, when you broke your neck, at 3-4 where you broke it, it hit your cervical disc. That cervical disc hit your spinal cord. So medically, when I broke my neck, I bruised my spinal cord. When you bruise your spinal cord or bruise something, it swells. So when it swelled, it made me feel like I was paralyzed. 3 hours later, the swelling had come down, and I could move again. The problem is it's still there against the spinal cord. So if somebody shoved me, if I fell, if I was in a car wreck, anything, fall in the shower, slip outside, it could possibly go ahead and sever my spinal cord. So they put me, I went straight from there, straight to the hospital. And the doctor couldn't do surgery for 2 or 3 days, but they kept me in the hospital, kind of like jail, so I wouldn't go work out, so I wouldn't get hurt. So I stayed in the hospital for 3 days to surgery. And the surgery, they fused me, and I was fused at 3, 4, and 6, 7. So that's 2 plates. They go through here. They move your windpipe over. They bolt 2 plates, one at 3, 4, one at 6, 7, with 8 screws, 4 screws to each plate through here. They put your windpipe back in place, and they screw it together. And many more things happen after this. So I get home and I get food poisoning. I throw up and it re-hemorrhages my wound. And so I had to call the ambulance to come get me, go back in for the second surgery, which actually that's the third surgery because it did the same thing out of the next morning. So after the original surgery, it was bleeding. I woke up the next morning. They had to do an emergency surgery because it was a blood clot. So I come home from that. And then the third surgery came from me getting food poisoning of all things. So after the food poisoning, so now there's 3 surgeries to fix this. 1 surgery fixed it, but a blood clot and me getting food poisoning caused 2 more surgeries. With all that said and done, I am 50 pounds light. 50 pounds lighter, man. I mean, it's I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I can't touch a weight for 3 months. 3 months, the doctor made me promise not to touch a weight for 3 months because he wanted the neck to heal properly. 3 months and 1 day, I was back in the gym wide open, and it was very tough, but it was the rebuild of 50 pounds being lost. So I created the overalls to cover me up. I came out with a top hat. I came out with things to keep me, motivated and keep me alive and keep me popular with a top hat and overalls and stuff. So that's where those kind of things came from. And then 10 months later, we don't even B-roll the film of me injuring my neck, but we have Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner versus Rick Steiner and Goldberg was my first match back in 10 months. And I made it back, in shape, looking good, ready to go. But against Goldberg and Rick Steiner. But fantastic, wonderful match we had that night. Main event, Monday Night Nitro. Can't remember the date of that, but it was 10 months later, if you could do the math. And it was at the Dean Dome in North Carolina. And Buff was back. It was a really scary thing. I remember before I started wrestling, around the 3-month mark, before I got back in the gym, I remember going to 3 doctors. There was 3 doctors lined up to find out if I should continue pro wrestling. The first doctor said, you got to quit. Your neck is fused. You can't do this anymore. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding. Second doctor, same exact thing. You got to quit pro wrestling. You got bolts and screws in your neck. You can't wrestle. The third doctor was a female, and she said, you got to quit. You got bolts and screws in your neck. She goes, but you also can't ride your motorcycle again. Don't ever drive a car again. Don't take a shower. Don't walk across the street. And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, I'm saying that you could do the same thing, taking a shower, walking across the street and somebody hitting you in a car, being in a car wreck and getting jerked. You could hurt yourself just as easy with something like that and than pro wrestling. So you might as well quit living if you're going to quit pro wrestling. And I said, that was the answer I was looking for. And I never missed a beat. It was really hard to take my first body slam and stuff, but I went back to the gym and started with hip toss and body slam, then slowly worked my way up till I was ready to go. And Buff Daddy was back 10 months later. April 22nd, 1998. will be a day that I never, ever forget. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos. And if you're interested in cool NWO shirts like this one right here or other wrestling sports merch, click the link at the top of your screen or in the description of this video to jump over to Fanatics and place your order today.